Hello Year 4, it's Miss Lewis here with Thursday's Maths. Let's start with our Give Me 5. Find yourself a 5-minute timer and pause the video. Okay, here we go, a bit of a simpler one today to get you started. So we should have done a column addition here, 431, add 269, and you would have got 700. 729, take away 181. I'd do a column subtraction for this, and you would have got 548. 24 divided by 4, we need to find what times 4 is 24, and the answer to that is 6. Okay, 24 divided by 4 is 6, means 4 times 6 is 24. 100 divided by 10. So something times 10 is 100. I know that 10 times 10 is 100. So 100 divided by 10 is 10. And last one then, 23 times 2. I would do the times the ones times the 10s. So 3 times 2 is 6. 20 times 2 is 40. So we get 46. Well done if you got any of those right. Let's move on to our in focus problem today then. But first, let's have an introduction. We are going to be starting fractions. We're on chapter 6 now. This is our fractions chapter. So just have a think to yourself first then, what is a fraction? You can pause the video, talk to somebody in your house. What is a fraction? Okay, a fraction is a small part of a whole number or object. So if we look back at this picture here, we've got one whole. We split it into 2 equal parts, we've got halves. If we split it into 3 equal parts, we've got thirds. 4 equal parts, it's a fourth, or sometimes we call this a quarter. Okay, you see we can keep splitting it into equal parts. Remember, the parts have to be equal, otherwise they're not fractions. Okay, we should all know this fraction here. It's a half. You should have seen this written down like this before. Let's just recap on the words we use then. So the top number is called the numerator. This tells you how many of the equal parts of something you have. How many of the equal parts of something you have. Okay. The bottom number is called the denominator, and this tells you how many equal parts something is divided into. So you have 1/2. Okay. 1/2. Let's look at our in focus problem today. So our objective for today is counting in hundredths. Quite tricky to say, hundredths. You can practice saying it if you want to. This group of children all took different numbers of chocolates, and it wants us to know how much chocolate did each of them take. We know here that we have got 100 chocolates. It's like 100 square. It's just made up of chocolate. So what fraction is 1 chocolate? Okay, we've got 100 chocolates. We're dividing that by 1. It's going to be 1/100th. Okay, so 1 chocolate is 1/100th. So have a think about what 3 chocolates would be. If 1 chocolate is 1/100th, what is 3 chocolates going to be? Have a think about that. Let's learn then. So the box of chocolates is made up of 100 pieces. We've got a helpful 100 square to help us here. So 1 little chocolate is 1/100th of the box. Okay, it says, how can we say this fraction? This is how it's written, 1/100th. Okay, 1 over 100. The 1 is the numerator, the 100 is the denominator. 1/100th. Let's count along the number line in hundredths then. So join in with me. We've got 0, 100th, 200th, 300ths, 400ths, 500ths, 600ths, 700ths, 800ths, 900ths, 1000ths, 1100ths, 1200ths, 1300ths, 14 hundredths, 15 hundredths, and 16 hundredths. Okay, so we said before that one chocolate is 1/100th, so 3 chocolates is going to be 3 hundredths. Okay, what fraction is shown here? It's the same thing. We've got 1 out of 100. That is 1/100th. Okay, here we go then. She took 3 chocolates. That's 3 hundredths. We can see it again here in our 100 square. 3 out of 100, 3 hundredths. She took 9 chocolates. Okay, 9 chocolates, 9 out of 100, 9 hundredths. Okay, and our last one, he took 11 chocolates. Okay, 11 chocolates. 11 chocolates, 11 out of 100, 11 hundredths. Got another question here. If 11 hundredths of the box of chocolates are taken, then how many hundredths are left? Okay, so we've got 11 hundredths, they've gone. How many are left? Well, we just need to do 100 take away 11. Okay, so you do that in your head. Yeah, that's right, we get 89. So 89 hundredths are left. Okay, let's go on to our guided practice. Oh, no, not guided practice yet. We're going to count up in hundredths. There's lots to do on this lesson. We're going to count up in hundredths, okay? So let's do this again together. 1/100th, 2/100th, 3/100ths, 4/100ths, 5/100ths. What's in this box? It's going to be 6/100ths, 7/100ths, 8/100ths, 9/100ths, 10/100ths, 11/100ths, 12/100ths. I want you to count backwards in hundredths here and work out what the missing numbers are going to be. Now it's time for our guided practice, okay? So if you want to work through this with me, then you can. If you want to have a go yourself, then pause the video. This is 1. When we've got it all shaded in, it's 100 hundredths, which is 1. It's 1 whole. What number does each figure show? Okay, so all we need to do is count how many squares are shaded in. You see it out of 100. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We've got 7 out of 100, which is 7 hundredths. Okay, what about this one? Let's count up. I know I've got 1 whole block of 10 shaded in here. So 10, 20, 30, 40, and it's not quite 50 because there's only 9 shaded in here, so it must be 49. So 49 out of 100 is 49 hundredths. 49 hundredths. Okay, and this one here, I'm just going to count in tens. So I've got 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80. No one. So 80 out of 100 is 80 hundredths. It'd be quite tricky to say. 80 hundredths. Super. This one then, what are our missing numbers? Okay, 0, 1/100th, we've got a gap, 3/100ths, and a gap, 5/100ths, then a gap. Can you see we're counting up in odd numbers here? These lines are for the even numbers, but they're not labelled. So 1, 3, 5, the next one must be 7 hundredths. Remember, our denominator doesn't change when we're counting up like this. This is 7 hundredths. I'm going to add in the ones in the gap now. So 7 hundredths, this one's going to be 8 hundredths. This one will be 9 hundredths, which means this one is going to be, yep, that's right, 10 hundredths. After that, after 10 hundredths, we got, oh, So this is thinking of the next one already. After that we've got 11 hundredths. So this one will be 12 hundredths, which makes this one 13 hundredths. Well done. Now we are going to complete these number patterns. So we're just counting up basically. 32 hundredths, 33 hundredths, 34 hundredths, 35 hundredths, 36 hundredths. Yours will be a lot neater than mine. 37 hundredths. And then we go to 38 hundredths. Super. Next one, 49 hundredths, 48 hundredths, 47 hundredths, 46 hundredths. I can see here we are going down. So counting down, the next one will be 45 hundredths. Then we get 44 hundredths. And 43 hundredths. Then down to 42 hundredths. Okay? These next ones I'm just going to say out loud, we won't write them in. 71 hundredths, 71 hundredths, 69 hundredths, 67 hundredths. I can see we're going down, but we're not going down in steps of 1, we're going down in steps of 2, so we're going down in odd numbers. So 71 hundredths, 69 hundredths, 67 hundredths. I know this is going to be 65 hundredths, 63 hundredths, 61 hundredths, 59 hundredths. A bit of a tricky one there. Okay, and then the next one, 9 hundredths, 13 hundredths, 17 hundredths. Okay, so I know I'm going up, but what am I going up in? Let's see, between 9 and 13 there is 4. Between 13 and 17 there is 4. Okay, so we're going up in 4s. So 17 add 4, I know that's 21. So 21 hundredths. That fits in well with the next one because there's a gap of 4 there. So 25 hundredths. Then it will be 29 hundredths. Count on another 4. And then add on another 4. That will be 33 hundredths. Okay. Well done on working through those with me. Now it's time for our worksheet then. So first one, you need to see what fraction of the block is shaded. Remember that it's out of 100, so how many out of 100, how many hundredths will you get? And then you're going to be filling in the blanks of counting up in hundredths. So make sure you see how many are sort of missed out between them. You can label all of them if you want to. Then we're counting up and down. Make sure you work out what steps it's going up in because it won't always be going up in ones. Okay, so pause the video now and come back here for the answers. Okay, well done. Here are our answers then. So 11 blocks were shaded, so 11 out of 100, 11 hundredths. In this one, 56 of the blocks were shaded. Okay, so 56 out of 100 is 56 hundredths. Here are our blanks filled in, so 1 hundredth, the next one is 2 hundredths. Between 4 and 6 hundredths, so we've got 5 hundredths, 8 hundredths here, and 10 hundredths here. This one we are counting up in steps of 1, so 18 hundredths, 19 hundredths, 20 hundredths, and so on. This one we are going downwards in steps of 2, so 89 hundredths, 87 hundredths, 85 hundredths, and so on. Well done if you got those right. If you think you've challenged yourself with enough maths for today, that's fine, you can end the lesson. If you would like a bit more of a challenge, then here are some questions to answer. So we've got an always, sometimes, never question. So you need to say, does this happen always, does this happen sometimes, or does this happen never? And explain your answer. And then you need to work out which representations of 4/5 are incorrect. So which of these pictures shows 4/5, which of them doesn't? Okay, pause the video and come back for the answers. Okay, here are our answers then. So if I split a shape into 4 parts, I have split it into quarters. And the answer is sometimes. If the shape isn't split equally, it won't be in quarters. So if I have a nice circle here and I just split it into 4, 1, 2, it's 2 bits, 3 bits, 4 bits, so 1, 2, 3, 4 parts. It's still split into 4 parts, but they're not quarters because they're not equal. If it's quarters, it's got to be 4 equal parts, and even then it's not perfectly equal because I haven't used a ruler or drawn my circle properly. Okay, next one then. So the image of the dogs could represent 2/5 or 3/5. So there's 5 things here, but it's not showing us 4/5. And the bar model, it's not divided into equal parts, so it doesn't represent 4/5, even though there are 5 different parts and 4 are shaded in. It's not 4/5 because it's not equal. Okay? Super work today, guys. Well done.